do you hear us?
Yeah, now I hear you. There you go.
Okay, so... Mm,
Możemy trochę głośniej zrobić, bo jego nie słychać trochę.
I think we'll start in a minute.
Okay.
Here is our crowd. I think the camera is a little bit in the middle, so there is hard to see everyone there. Okay, I am making this.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay. Dobra, dajmy. How it's working. Okay, I think we can see you, we can hear you. Wow. Yeah, 100%. Please say something again. I think we have you. It's very quiet.
Słychać coś?
Okay, I think I need to change settings in my Discord because we hear you very quiet still. Właśnie wideo.
My phone kind of sucks for this kind of.
Oh yeah. Okay. Now
Thing.
it's correct.
So,
Whoa. So many lags. Hello?
sec.
Okay. I think now it's working. Słychać? Okay. So hello Guni. We are really glad we can.
Hello.
we can talk with you right now. Maybe you remember I'm Speedy and there is Brushy.
Hi.
And here's our spectators. Wait. Okay, now it's even worse that is. Oh, yeah.
Oh, there we go. Input sensitivity. There we go. That should be better.
I will not touch it too much.
Okay.
Okay. So, thank you again.
Sorry, I had to fix my settings as well. Okay. We're good to go.
Okay.
Okay, so our guest today will be 4everfreebrony. Let's give him a big cheer. Come on.
So first thing, I think we can start with something really basic. Yeah. Do you remember your very beginning of being a brony? How it started?
Yeah. So, I was introduced to the show by a friend. You know, the typical story, and I was very skeptical of it, and it didn't seem all that interesting to me. And we were like, I don't know, sitting in a McDonald's at one point, and he started playing songs from the show, and I was like, we are in a public place. This is embarrassing. And then after a little bit, like a year later or so or something like that, I got very into the show myself because I don't know, it just looked interesting, and I kept seeing it in like YouTube thumbnails and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. It's just stuff changed for me, and that's pretty much how I became a brony. I really liked the show. The first episode that I watched was Hurricane Fluttershy, and then I started from the beginning after that.
So you could say that the music was actually the thing that attracted you to the show, right?
No, actually, the music was not the thing that attracted me to the show. I I'm a musician by my career, you know, and I it's basically my you know what I do for a living, but it's not exactly the thing that attracted me to the show. What really attracted me to the show was the fact that the characters had cutie marks, and through said cutie marks, they were given, you know, that kind of implied what they specialize in and what their calling in life is supposed to be, you know, or what, and that fascinated me, really. I really liked that aspect, and also just the fact that, you know, people sometimes, you know, they're just like, oh, I don't need. It's a show about friends and stuff like that, but like for me, I don't know, that kind of hit home. I really liked the fact that it was a show that focused on friendship and what are the goods and bads of having friendship, and what kind of trials you'll go through and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was just a very different experience for me, I guess, when it comes to being a musician in the fandom. I think my wife's phone froze. Sorry.
Okay, now I have to ask, what do you think about the music from the show then? Do you like it?
I think it's pretty obvious.
I kind of like it, actually. It's not my favorite thing in the world, but it's there we go. Sorry about that. Oh well, phone's being weird, but it's okay. Anyways,
Don't worry.
I kind of like it. It's not actually my favorite thing about the show. I wish that there were something a little bit more. I don't know. I don't know. I grew up listening to classic rock. You know, the stuff that my dad would have been part of his era, and you know, maybe my grandparents' era even. So it's just very, I don't know. I liked some of the songs. The first one that I really fell in love with was Babseed. And that definitely has the most classic rock feel to it out of like all the songs in there, in my opinion, you know. Aside from like Showstoppers or whatever. Yeah, that one I really liked, and I also liked In My Head Like a Catchy Song. Yeah, I don't know. That was something that was actually pretty cool for like seeing those pieces come out and be a little bit more different from the rest. I was actually very surprised. Very surprised.
But later, of course, you started to make your own music about ponies and about the plot and the characters. But when you,
sorry, I'm only hearing a little bit of what you're saying.
When you started to make your own music about ponies and about various characters, their adventures, when you decided to start to make music and publish it?
So I started in 2013, and I decided to do it because I felt like Fluttershy was an inspiring character. And so I wrote a little, you know, kind of a little love song for Fluttershy, and it was called Birdsong. And since then, I have like remastered it and re-recorded it like 3 different times, and I don't know. I felt like the thing that inspired me most in terms of like what I could write about were the characters themselves, and I thought that the characters had really interesting personalities, and just the dynamic between characters. It was just like it was a show that proved that while all the characters can have the same basic design, you know, they can be so different from each other. You know, I mean, sure, they're different colors, but you got to admit, literally it's the same. They're all drawn the same for the most part.
Yeah.
Except they're given different main styles, different colors, and all that kind of thing. but despite that, they were able to take some really I don't know, very, it's all the same kind of design, and turn them into really, really interesting characters. And that's what inspired me to write songs about. So I wrote songs about Fluttershy, wrote songs about Pinky, wrote songs about Rarity and Rainbow Dash and all that kind of stuff. You know, just like, not just in general, like, you know, like about certain episodes, but more like about the characters themselves and what they represent. So, yeah.
I think I have a similar question. So I think that you are one of the most creative and well-known musicians in the Brony fandom, actually. So I want to ask you, how do you get inspiration for your music? So what does the creative process of your tracks look like?
So the creative process of my music is, I typically have a method, and sometimes I stray from it, but my method is typically I come up with a concept, and a concept is typically something like you can. So it's an idea. The concept is the idea, you know, that you want to get across. It can be like a moral, you know, like friendship is good, or be nice and be honest, you know, something like that. It can be a moral, or it can be a certain lyric or a hook, like a vocal melody that you're thinking of, right? That you really, really, really want to get out there. That's the concept. And then I base the rest of the song on that, typically starting with chords, you know, to music, and then writing the lyrics and melody after that. Just that way it becomes like it's very centered on that core concept. And that way it feels like it's a little more coherent with the rest of the thing, you know? So, yeah.
Do you perhaps sometimes rewatch some episodes to get some new ideas for the music, or?
Yeah, actually, some episodes have inspired me. I'm trying to think. The one that really, what was it? Oh my gosh. I know I've done this before. I can't think of it. Oh my gosh. Okay, but I swear I've written songs about certain episodes. Maybe I can't think of it right now. Let me see. Hold up. Let me see. I'd have to look at my catalog. I have a lot of songs. So give me one sec. All right. One of my favorite episodes was about so Starlight and becoming you know, her reformation into becoming a good guy, basically a protagonist instead of an antagonist. I have written several songs about that because of the fact that, like, I don't know, I find it relatable when you feel like you've had past sins, you've had like a lot of things that you regret in your life, or that you wish you hadn't done before. And I don't know, I find her character arc and the episodes that include that very, very inspiring. So I've written quite a few songs about that. And then, you know, also the season 3 finale. I wrote one about that because I was like, you know, is she mortal? Is she not? You know, I've probably written, I don't know, maybe 10 songs about that, about just that single topic.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. So episodes in general are typically not my thing, but mostly what I write about is concepts and characters, and concepts within the MLP universe that are perhaps not quite thought of so much.
I think your most famous music projects are The Pink Side of the Moon, and the second one are The Chants. So maybe I will ask about The Pink Side of the Moon, how it began.
Okay, so I was getting ready to leave on a mission for my church, okay? And that meant I was going to be gone for 2 years, and I wasn't going to have any interaction. And I wanted to put out something really big. I wanted to make, one final, one last bang in the fandom. And I was just like, you know what? Let's write about the episode Party of One. And in this episode, instead of being okay, and instead of actually going to the party and whatnot, and her friends comforting her, she goes to the moon instead. I'm like, this is way out of the way, but what if this happened? And she goes to the moon, and she does this because she feels like she's not needed anymore because her friends threw the party without her. And I was like, okay, so I want to get a bunch of people in on this. And the initial title of this was called Pinky's Rocket Ride. And I thought that was cool. I would really just a lot of people would really think it should be called The Pink Side of the Moon, because I don't know, it would be a really big missed opportunity if I didn't call it that. So Pink Side of the Moon it was. And I got people in on the song, on the project, like Joe the Loaf, and Megaphoric, and quite a few other people. Giggly Maria, Bronwyn, back then known as Starbreeze, and Rain, Snow, Hail. There was quite a few people. Even Synthis had a little bit of a part in that album, and heck, Swift created a whole song for it. So yeah, I don't know. It was a really, really cool project, and seeing it come to life. We even had for this album, we even had back then a Skype call release party for it. So it was pretty cool. So yeah, and then after I got back from my mission, after the album was released and we put it on YouTube and everything, I was like, you know what, this album has done so well, but I feel like it's missing something at the end. And so I created a fully remastered version of the album, and I added one more song that was just me and L Train. And I was like, you know what, this song really finishes it off. It was the remastered version has Right Here, whereas the original actually doesn't. So yeah, and that's when I felt like the album was fully complete, and it sounded better anyways. So
Thanks. So now about chants.
Yeah, as Speedy said, you also are really well known because of the chants, especially the chant of immortality, I think. So could you tell us more what was the concept behind them? How did you come up with this idea?
Okay, so at the time, the season 3 finale had just come out, and I was part of a choir back then. Well, I don't know. I still kind of am, but this choir in particular, we do very Christ-centered songs, and so it has that kind of feel to it. And so I was deciding, you know what? Nobody has done a song like that. And the idea of Twilight's immortality was still in my head, and so I wrote the song Chant to Immortality, and the song was supposed to convey how much tragedy, I mean, lots of people would see immortality as a great thing, but if you think about it, lots of people would also realize that there are so many downsides to being immortal, whereas you live forever and nobody else does, right? If you were immortal, you just watch your friends die, basically. You keep making new friends and they all die, and you just keep living on forever, and it's sad. Right? Who wants to live a life like that?
So horrible.
So that's basically what the song was about. I've written about it so many times, but that was the first.
And that was the first, and later we had another, for example, the chant of Mirth, for example.
Yeah. We got the main 6.
Yeah, the complete main six chants.
The original received so.
Have you ever
I
thought
just
about?
decided, you know what?
Yeah. Have you ever thought perhaps about writing a chant for other characters outside from main 6?
Or maybe about Generation 5?
have I ever written about a character outside the main six? Is that what you said? It was cutting in and out.
I said if you ever thought about writing a chant about any other character outside from the main six.
Lots of people have encouraged me to, but like I don't really feel like. I feel like right now, it's this. The set of chants is complete, and you know it feels very complete as it is right now. Especially since I've done not only the regular chant versions, I've done concert versions, which is the rockified versions on the new album Stargazer's Lens that I only released last year, and then also that album contained all six all six acoustic versions as well. And I feel like with all those versions of those songs, and just having one for each of the main six, it just feels complete to me, you know. And I feel like if I did one for one character outside of the main six, I would feel like that would make me feel like I'd have to keep going because there's an endless amount of characters in the series, and why I feel like it would just be so much work, you know, so much more work. Those things are probably, they take the most time to do out of all songs that I've ever done. They take so much mixing and so much recording and waiting on parts, and it's a lot of work.
Wow, that was a little bit surprising that the chants were.
I cannot hear you. Just letting you know.
Generation 5. As we can find on your YouTube account, there are only a few songs about Generation 5.
I'm not hearing anything. I'm sorry.
You don't write a lot of songs about Generation 5. Do you watch it?
Again, I can't hear it. I think you're gonna have to be louder. It's gonna have to turn up your mic input.
Maybe now it's better.
Yeah, that one's better.
Okay.
Way better.
So I wanted to ask about Generation 5. Do you watch Generation 5?
Have I? You asked if I've watched it or if I've written songs about it?
Yes. Songs about Generation 5.
Okay. Generation 5. I haven't watched the whole thing. I've watched the movie and I've watched some of the Tell Your Tale series. I haven't watched Make Your Mark, but I've written a couple songs about Generation 5. Namely, my first one that's original is called I Don't Know, and it was about Queen Haven. And I don't know, it was about the idea of like, I don't know, kind of seeming not like a corrupt leader, but like more like a leader who sometimes doesn't know what to say. But you have to say something because you're the leader, you know. And it's just like to keep your people, you know, like not just entertained, but more like, you know, keep them calm and keep them civilized and let them know that everything's going to be okay. And sometimes, even as a leader, you don't know what's going to happen. You have all the resources in the world, but you know you can't solve all the problems in the world. And I don't know, that was the first song that I wrote about G5. I like G5 as a concept. It doesn't hit as hard to me as G4, but I feel like it has potential, and characters are lovable. Not quite as dynamic as G4, but I think they're good. I think they're good characters, and they're fun and likable. And the other one that I wrote was actually a parody of a Blink-182 song called, the original is called I Miss You, and mine is called We'll Get Through. So, yep.
Yeah, so you've said that you thought a lot about the Twilight's immortality and the concept of immortality in general. So it's quite a deep concept, as you said, and it inspired lots of artists in the Brony fandom. And do you think that in G5 there are also some big, deep concepts that artists can concentrate on and get some ideas from? how would you compare G4 to G5 in this matter?
Well, again, like I said, the only deep one that I thought was interesting was the fact that, like, you know, one of the deeper concepts that had a lot of weight behind it, in my opinion, was the fact that, you know, the Pegasi in oh, I can't even remember the name of the town. Whatever.
Zephyr Heights?
The Pegasi. Yes, there we go. Zephyr Heights.
Yeah.
The Pegasi Zephyr Heights were like, you know, most of them, like, they couldn't fly because they didn't have magic, and yet the royalty made it seem like they could fly because they were royalty, you know, because they're special. And to me, that was a very, I don't know, corrupt way of thinking. And I don't know, there's a lot of weight behind that conversation, in my opinion. And that's why I wrote about the whole thing about Queen Maven and being a leader, and sometimes feeling that weight, and yet not knowing exactly the perfect solution for it. You know, I mean, you're supposed to, you have wings, so like, what are you supposed to do? Not fly, right? So that's, I don't know, that's the idea that I don't know, I liked the concept, and so I wrote about it. That's one of the deeper concepts that I think was pretty cool about G5.
And about iconification of Sunny. Sunny will become an icon very early, so maybe there is a find a source of inspiration for making something about Sunny and her in comic immortality. Maybe this is an idea.
Perhaps, yeah. I haven't really thought about it with Sunny, but like it's an interesting concept. I know it was probably mainly meant to sell toys, but you know, and so it doesn't quite inspire me as much. But I do like the idea that she's potentially, you know, like it's almost like being an honorary alicorn, because she wasn't born like that, and she was gifted it from a magical power, a magical source of some kind, rather than by somebody, you know. Whereas Twilight was gifted it from a character. Sunny was gifted it because she was super special.
Okay, so now something completely different. What is the origin of your nickname?
Yeah, what's the story behind it?
My nickname?
Yes, 4everfreebrony. How it began?
So you're talking about the name 4everfreebrony, right? Or are you talking about Goon?
Yeah. Forever Free Brony.
For which? 4everfreebrony. Okay. 4everfreebrony. So the idea was, I actually didn't come up with this name, and I wish I'd picked a different name because it's such a mouthful. It's so many in there, and I'm like, why? So I live really, really close to Everfree Northwest. Okay.
We have some interruptions.
That's a friend who introduced me to the show and the fandom itself. And so he was like, what about Everfreebrony? Because, you know, you live next to Everfree Northwest. We're pretty darn close. And I was like, I don't know. And then he was like, okay, well, it's taken anyway, so you couldn't choose it. And I was like, he was like, what about 4everfreebrony? You know, put a number 4 at the beginning. It sounds like forever. And then, you know, you could make all your music free. And so you're forever free, and it's still ever free. And I'm like, it's just, I don't know. I hated it, but it's what got picked. I don't know.
now it's too late.
I've always hated it.
Yeah. I would like to ask you, how did your adventure with music start, and in general, not only in the Brony fandom?
Okay, so I started writing only about a couple of years, or maybe 1 year, writing songs in general, about 1 year before I became a Brony. So like sometime in 2012 or 11, something like that. And for music in general, I started playing piano when I was about 9. and I excelled at playing piano for the most part. And I was able to pick up concepts really, really quickly. And about 7 years into my piano adventure, I got into playing electric guitar. And a couple years after that, I got into playing acoustic. And so I decided, you know what? I'm pretty far into music. What if I did something with it? What if I made something out of this? So I decided, let's go make a career. Let's write some songs. And I decided to write a few songs. My first one was called Slightly Askew. And I don't know. It was kind of about Jesus is always watching you kind of a thing. But it seemed than I wrote it to be. It sounds like a very creepy song. And then I wrote my first album, which was called 45 Degrees. And that was, I don't know, it was kind of a cool milestone for me. Everything sounded horrible, but it was cool to have a CD with all the songs that I'd written so far. And after that, I started writing, that's when I started writing Brony music. And I also started getting into more instruments, started playing stuff like organ and mandolin and a little bit of banjo here and there. I started getting pretty good at drums, and I'm self-taught on most of these instruments except for piano, and that's pretty much it. Fun fact is that I actually started playing guitar after I played Guitar Hero, and so.
So, did your career as a Brony musician help you to spread your wings and become a professional musician also in let's say in real life, outside of the fandom?
So, first off, most of my musical career is in the fandom. Hands down, that is where most of my popularity comes from. So, in many ways, yes, the Brony fandom has been an excellent helper for helping me grow and become, more of a professional musician and really hone my skills. Because first off, Brony music is imperfect and it is very homemade, and it doesn't always sound professional. I mean, pretty much anything outside of what Black Griffin and Basic produced, it was very, very I don't know, most of it didn't sound professional. And because of that, I was able to listen to things, including my own music, listen to things and pick out things that I liked and pick out things that I didn't like. Things that I was like, okay, that sounds unprofessional, but I can learn from that. That's what I won't do. And then I was able to pick out also things that I did like, and I was like, oh, why am I not doing that? I was able to hear stuff because of the fact that the fandom had many growing musicians, and other musicians who were learning to produce and learning to play instruments and just become better musicians in general. It was a huge cornerstone in my growth as a musician, even as a vocalist, and so it's probably played the biggest part in all of my musical career in helping me grow.
So you said that you are a professional musician, so I want to ask you if perhaps your education was connected to music, and also does it mean that you compose music also outside of the fandom, for the living?
Kinda, yeah. So, I mean, most of my musical career is centered around the Brony fandom, but I have a little bit of a life outside of the fandom. For example, I play piano for the children's class in my church, and so in that sense, I don't know. I don't get paid to do it, but like it's something that I have been called to do by the church, and I feel like I can fulfill that calling because of how much I've grown, you know, as a musician, and also, I've written a couple albums that are not Brony themed. They don't have any. Well, okay, I guess there's like one song in one of the albums, but I just released a very Christian, Christ-centered based album called Beautiful under my real name, Garrison Ulrich. And I feel like a lot of my songwriting has definitely been influenced, you know, by the things that I've done in the fandom, but mainly my roots in this album are very, very centered on my religion. And I don't know, there's a couple things that I do outside the fandom that are like pretty, you know, that are kind of musical. Like, for example, I used to teach guitar and piano a little bit. I've done that I did that for like a couple years, and it's not my forte. I kind of sucked at it, but like it helped, you know, it helped to be at least at the level I was. So that, and I've done a couple performances here and there that, you know, like performing at retirement centers and doing a couple little tiny shows here and there. It's not very often, but it occasionally happens. And, you know, doing stuff like challenge shows and in the church and stuff. There's most of my outside activity from outside of the fandom is definitely within the church, but occasionally I get a little odd job.
Well, we are talking a lot about your past, so maybe now I will ask.
I can't hear you again. Sorry.
Maybe now.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, so we are talking a lot about your past, so maybe I will ask about your future plans for Brony music.
Okay. All right. So I have I have at least a couple more albums planned for Brony music. The show still continues to inspire me, even though like it feels like it's, I don't know, it's G4 is done, right? But yeah. I keep still finding inspiration as I rewatch episodes. You know, I don't rewatch hardly any shows, but that one, it still got me hooked. And I feel like there's still a couple neat concepts that inspire me. One of them is still Twilight's immortality, and I decided to write an entire album based on it. I was like, you know what? I'm the Twilight is immortal guy. So I want to write a whole album based on this concept. And so I finished writing most of the songs. The story of the album is that Twilight, you know, is outliving everyone, but she gets tired of it and decides, you know what? I want to make my own little world where nobody ages up and I can just live with these people forever. And it kind of follows the same vibe as the show WandaVision. I don't know if you've seen that. The lady creates her own little world or whatever. Anyways, it's similar to that, just in the sense that like there's a world that shouldn't exist, you know, and that is using people who had lives prior to it. Anyways, so that's the concept, and that's one of my future projects. And also for the future, I will continue to write songs for Ponies at Dawn. No matter what, you know, because I don't know, maybe I'll write songs. I've written a couple songs about video games and about, you know, internet culture and stuff like that. And I don't know, I'm getting more into that, but I will always be, you know, at least on Ponies at Dawn, and always be I will continue to be inspired and join little, you know, groups like My Little Romance, and I'll be part of the Blues Bronies, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah.
You also
So
do
that's my for
you also do a lot of collabs, so probably that will also continue in the future, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm the collab king.
Okay, so if you are talking about the future, I want to mention, I want to talk about a really hard topic, but quite important nowadays, namely the artificial intelligence. Like we know that the artificial intelligence's capabilities are growing and growing with every month, and some artists started to use it in their own work. Like the AI already can create music, it can create lyrics, impersonate voices of specific characters from the show, and even create the whole tracks. So I want to ask you, what do you think about using AI in creating music, and have you ever considered trying it out in your tracks?
I've considered it, but I honestly don't really. I don't really support much use of AI. I like that it's cool and people find it creative and that they can, you know, a lot of people find it empowering, but I honestly don't like AI that much as a creative outlet, you know, because first off, there's a lot of things that it does to infringe on the rights of people who should be providing you with this thing, rather than you using it as a thing to bypass that. And I know that a lot of people use AI as a bypass, you know, something so that they don't have to pay an artist or something like that, and lots of other people would use it to replicate somebody's voice rather than creating their own original voice, you know. And I think that well, the typical use of using voices for characters, I think that's okay, but using it to replicate real people, using it to replicate voices of real people, I don't think that's okay. I think that's literally it's plagiarism, you know, and it's almost like identity theft, really. So that's my opinion on it. I have never used AI in my life, and I don't really plan on it. I think that it's cool. Like for example, I know that I believe that occasionally some people use it to replicate character voices in certain songs where they want you know, that character's voice to be. I think it was used in like "Spare Me" from Prince Whatever.
Yeah.
You know, for rare voice. And that's a wholesome use of that thing. Whereas using it to replicate someone's voice that you can contact, somebody you can contact and get to know, and just like you're afraid of them saying no, and so you do it without their permission, you know. I don't support that. So whereas for artwork, I think it's completely abused for artwork as well. I mean, like, you shouldn't use AI to try and, you know, you're basically making artists lose a lot of money. You're saving yourself a bunch of money, but you are not supporting the fandom. By choosing to use AI, you are choosing to not support fandom artists for art. So that's my opinion on it.
Okay, thanks. I think many of guys can agree with that. That supporting AI needs to be it's important to do that very carefully.
Yeah, it should be regulated, in my opinion.
Unfortunately, we are going run of time. So, Brashi, do you have anything more?
Oh, I think we can ask our audience if they have any questions.
Okay, yeah. So if anyone, okay. Maybe I will give the microphone.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hi there. I wanted to ask
Hi.
about the album Emerald Eyes. I'm assuming by this album and this song that your favorite pony is Applejack. Is
I'm
it
sorry,
correct?
I'm only getting some of that. I'm only getting some of that. It's cutting in and out. If you could talk just a little bit louder, that'd be
Okay.
probably good. I think it's probably good towards where it's like an input sensitivity or whatever. I think it's that.
Now it should be better. I'm assuming by
Okay.
the song and the album Emerald Eyes that your favorite pony is Applejack. Is it still current?
No, no.
Ever
I
been?
just wrote that album was actually it was a compilation of songs that I had already written about the Apple family in general, and I was like, you know what? I've written quite a few songs about them. Let's just put them all in an album, and then I added 2 more that I'd previously not released before. I don't know. I find Applejack an inspiring character, but she's not my favorite. Derpy is my favorite.
Oh, okay. Hasn't I'm sorry. Did it change in the past? I mean, was it always your character?
No, Fluttershy was my favorite before that.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have another question?
Okay, there is another one.
Hello. Is it working?
Yeah, it's working. That one works good.
Okay. Okay. So, I probably basic question that was already asked on it, but because I came in quite late, have you done other things within fandom besides making music?
Not really. I mean, I think at one point I wrote a couple fanfics, but that's probably it. I don't. Let's see. I'd like to get into voice acting. Really, that's something that I would definitely be more down for. But I don't know. I haven't found the time for it. But other than that, I don't know. Music is just mainly what I stick with because I know it's what I'm good at, and I don't get tired of it. So yeah, that's mainly it. But I don't know. If you search like my name, 4everfreebrony, on on FimFiction, you'll probably see the couple fanfics that I wrote. they were bad. They were bad.
I know what you mean.
Did you say something?
Nothing. I think that's all. But I understand what you mean.
Sorry, I
so.
think it'll have to be a little louder. Otherwise, it's not coming in.
Okay. I think that's all what I want to ask. So yeah, I understand what you mean with the fan fictions, and yeah. Thank you.
Hello. I also have one question. Where is your studio based? Where do you record all your tracks?
I live, like I mentioned earlier, I live very close to Everfree Northwest, and so that's in Washington State in the United States. So it's not the Washington D.C. part, but like the other side of the U.S. where it's above California, and it's basically I'm right in the top left corner of the United States. That's where I'm based, and I'm right next to the water.
Okay, but you have your studio set up inside your, let's say, house, or you go somewhere specific to record?
Could you repeat that last part? Sorry.
Yes, I asked if you are every time if you record any track, do you have a special studio you go to, or you just have set up everything in your house?
My studio is in my house, actually. Well, technically, it's in my parents' house. I don't live in my parents' house anymore, but my parents, they made a studio for me when I got back from my mission, and I provided they provided the space, and I bought most of my instruments and drum kit and whatnot to record with. And so basically it's kind of like a home studio, but it's a room that is dedicated to recording, and it was meant for that, and it's designed for that. So it's basically, I don't know, it's not like anything professional, but it's definitely, it feels like a studio when you walk in there. And it's only like 7 minutes from where I live. So yeah, it's basically my house, but it's not.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, is there any song that you didn't publish for any reasons, like not being good enough, or maybe other interesting reason?
Yeah, actually. Okay, so there's been a couple songs that, well, first off, I have many songs recorded for my new album that are unpublished. There's that. They will be published, but I'm guessing you're talking about songs that I don't want to publish because I don't like them, or because I don't think they're good enough.
I mean, the songs that you didn't publish in the past, not the new songs that you will upload in some time.
Right. Okay. So there was a song that I wrote a long time ago, never really got recorded properly, but I wrote it, and it was like, it was called Big Miss, and it was like, it was a baseball kind of, not like themed song, but the catchphrase in the song was based on baseball. You know, and sometimes when you hear a baseball commentator, they'll say swing and a miss, you know, and I said, my song, I said swing and a big miss. And I don't know, I just felt like the title of the song, as well as the writing of the song, could just be confused in so many ways. And that one, again, that was at the very, very start of my writing as a musician. And so I was very inexperienced, and I don't know, my parents heard it and they were like, I don't like that one so much. It was very rare that my parents ever didn't like my songs. And so that one, I was like, you know what, it's probably not worth publishing. So that one, I never got around to recording. However, if you want to hear some stuff that probably has almost never seen the light of day, you can Google my real name, Garrison Ulrich, Garrison, and then Ulrich, you know, like the German name. And you can find a bunch of songs on my Bandcamp that are very, very underproduced and sound very unprofessional. And they sound like demos, very, very much like demos. And so I don't know. That's all I can say about stuff that I perhaps wouldn't release at this point. But those are public. I don't know. I can't really say anything much else about other songs that have been recorded and not published or written. Yeah, that's all. That's pretty much all I can say about it.
Okay, thanks. And the last question for me was, I wanted to ask about the process of the creation of the album, the ambience, or the game about the same title.
Oh, and for the game. Okay, that one was actually quite an interesting process. So the song Ambience was written for the game Ambient White, and Ambient White is still currently on hiatus. The production of the game, it looks like a very promising concept. but I don't know, the developer um, the developer is taking a break, basically. He tends to be pretty picky about the things that he wants in his project, and so sometimes, I don't know, sometimes the thing that that makes the process very slow. And being very particular like that can have repercussions. And it's not like he has any bad blood with any of the team members. It's just more like, because of that, it's just, I think he's also just taking a break. But anyways, the song itself, he wanted a song that was meant to be an end credits for the first episode of the game. And this song is meant to be that. It is meant to be the end credits song for the game. And it was supposed to centralize on Astrum, the main character who you play as, and her not wanting to take responsibility, but knowing she's going to have to eventually, and that was the main concept that the developer wanted me to write about. And typically, this song was my kind of like my test run for seeing if I could take commissions at some point. And I discovered that I'm not very good at it, but occasionally I do it to make a couple extra dollars here and there. But for this song in general, it was a very tedious process, because I kept coming back to him with certain lyrics, and he was like, okay, but what if we changed it here, and what if we changed it here, and what about this part? I think this part could be a little bit different. I had to tell him several times. He's like, I don't think this will sound good. I said, first off, I'm a native English speaker, and he's not. I don't remember what country he's from, but I remember that he just didn't think that certain things would sound good, if they were spoken. I was like, just listen to the way I sing them, and I promise it'll sound good, okay? And then after that, after I sang it, he was like, okay, I trust you. This is actually really, really good. And he also didn't trust he didn't trust the fact that I had a natural ability to adapt to certain genres. It was my first attempt to make an ambient style song, one that sounded like a ballad, like it was catchy with lyrics, but also sounded like a piece of ambient music. It was relaxing, yet you could feel the emotion and intensity in it. And so he was like, why don't you ask, one of the other musicians to help you out? I was like, I can do this one, I promise you. And so I made the song, I made the tune, I wrote the lyrics, I sang the lyrics, and he's like, okay, but what if we got a female vocalist? And so I asked MJ to sing the female version of the song, and he was like, I actually like your vocals better. I don't know, it was a very tedious process to get that song finished, and he only said I could publish it because the thing was going on hiatus. And that, let me tell you, that thing was sitting on my hard drive for like 4 years before I actually published it. So I was so glad to get it out there. But yeah, it's one of my best songs. It's honestly, in my opinion, it's one of my best songs. But I just remember the process of that song being very tedious. Very, 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 tedious. That's all I can say.
Okay, thank you so much for the answer. I can only say that's one of my favorite songs also. I was so thrilled when I actually listened it from the first time, and I just wanted to say overall that's thank you for your creation, and please don't stop. Thank you.
I won't.
Okay, our time is gone, unfortunately, but really thank you for your time and that we had an opportunity to meet here and talk. Okay, I'm changing the camera.
Of course, it's been an honor.
So, thank you again from me and from Beshi and from our audience.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was 4everfreebrony live from America.
Thanks for having me, guys. That was really fun.
So thank you and have a nice day.
Alrighty. Have a good one.
Bye bye. See you at the convention.
Bye.
All right. Bye.